everyone. Welcome back to another exciting episode of Tuesdays with Trailblazers. I'm your host Swastika, and today we are thrilled to have with us an amazing guest, Jason Brandt, Chief Marketing Officer at Profit, always ahead of the curve when it comes to reimagining B2B marketing.
Really well. Thank you for having me.
Let's jump to the questions. Yeah, Jason, we all know that B2B has traditionally been super buttoned up, right? But things are definitely changing. What's pushing the shift towards this, specifically the creative partnership, and why is now the perfect time for it?
Right. So great question. So for B2B and partnerships with creators, this has really been something that's been a slow burn for quite some time, but we see it finally hitting its stride. It's actually amazing it's taken this long, as it's been very difficult for B2B purchasers to find those individuals that they can trust and talk to on a peer-to-peer basis. You know, when you're buying for a company, these are expensive purchases. You have to live with them for a long time. It's really hard to do the research. So having somebody that you can work with, or having somebody who can represent an opinion from a peer-to-peer perspective, is extremely helpful. When you look at the creator economy, it continues to grow, and it's actually looking for that next round of consumers, which sits within that B2B space. And these are buyers that are looking for the help in the world. They're looking for assistance because purchases are just way too complicated. And this type of influencer content really has evolved. It started off as bloggers, particularly with companies, and now it's moved outside of it. Partner, for example, has been doing this for a long time. They offer things like Magic Quadrants and the Forrester Wave with Forrester. But again, these are analyst driven. So the great thing about these creators is, you know, the buyers feel that it's a safe environment. These are thought leaders that they may recognize or have similar titles to themselves. So that's become very easy for individuals. The other thing that's going on right now is a lot of companies are downsizing their teams. Their research teams are getting smaller. Their insights teams are getting smaller. So leaders, especially in a purchasing situation, really relied on these individuals to help them research companies, research solutions. So all that together really has led to this notion of creators helping leaders make those decisions. And the other thing that's kind of happening also is the platforms themselves are making it much easier for these buyers to find creators that have experience in their sector. They can find creators that might have audiences that are much like their audiences. So the platform and the algorithms are really helping quite a bit.
I mean, really insightful. But creators aren't just creating cool content, right? They're also impacting business results. And how do you see these creators bringing, ABM or like lead gen, brand awareness? How are they actually helping the actual pipeline?
Yeah, you know, the sales role is really complicated. A lot of these deals take 30 days, 60 days, 90 days, potentially longer based upon that value. So the notion of account-based marketing is really, really important. And creators do really offer an opportunity for sales teams to find different ways to get the message out there. LinkedIn's been doing this for some time. They offer a safe place, but they're a little bit, a lot of leaders are looking for options beyond LinkedIn. Sales Navigator is a good tool. Zoom is a good tool. But lately, there has been a little bit of a legitimization of things like Slack, Reddit, for other areas where these creators can come and start to drive that lead generation process. This really does solve a problem for B2B leaders. How do you start to figure out, how do you start prospecting for companies in a way? Where are those new environments that you're looking for? Those creators actually do start to become really interesting to the sales leaders because, these are brands that need to stand out. I think there's something like 70,000 AI companies out there right now, and they're all looking to figure out a way to stand out. How do you stand out when there's only a limited number of platforms that really welcome B2B buyers or B2B messages? So these companies are really, really looking for these opportunities. And the other thing that's happening a little bit is these buying decisions have moved from singular people to groups of people. We have to live with these purchases for a longer time, so the scrutiny is really higher. So the creators really do allow for account-based marketing to be a really interesting option. I can choose creators by my industry. I can choose whatever that could be. Food, could be aviation, could be financial services. All of a sudden, I can choose audience back. I can choose people that are practitioners on a day-by-day basis. They could be practitioners by day and creators by night. And then all of a sudden, now I start to think about now that I've got a creator in place, how much am I willing to pay for that lead? How much am I willing to, how high is up in terms of how many leads can this creator ultimately deliver to me? Can I bring the creator in as part of the consideration process as well as the conversion process, which makes them invested? So it really is a good option for ABM marketing.
So, as profit, innovation seems to be in your DNA, right? Have you already brought creator driven ideas in your GNT or sales strategies? And if you could tell me, has there been any moment where it's like, that's it moment? And what's been that learning curve? Along that line.
Yeah, it's a great question. We bring creators in to talk about our products, our clients' products. We have a whole group division of our leaders agency that's only a performance company, almost exclusively on helping clients with influencer programs for branding and lead gen. And we help our clients with it. And we also use it ourselves using both human and synthetic influencers for our own purposes. We've also created partnerships with creators to get our brand out there that, we've been mostly known within the PR community, but over the past 6 months, we've really expanded into influencer marketing, into media monitoring. So we have to be able to find a way to use influencers to help build our business. So as a really good example of that, when we were really pushing our influencer solutions, both on the platform and technology side, as well as the services side, we created a partnership with What's Trending, specifically with the CEO and founder, Shira Lazar. And we created a whole program called Creator Spotlight, which was having interviews with top creators about how they've built their audiences, how they stay relevant, how they create content that's helpful, almost a how I built this for the content creator community. And we've had creators such as Adam Rose, Gloria George, V. Spihar, Molly Burke talk about it. So that's a great example of how we're not only bringing creators in to talk about their business that ultimately supports our influencer business, but also us giving back to the influencer community.
I think this is something really amazing, and thank you so much for answering that. But coming back to B2B, B2B covers like everything from AI to manufacturing. It's a big playground, right? When picking the right creators, especially in the technical space, what should brands be looking out for?
Yeah, it's very different, and I guess the question is, it depends. Are you looking for awareness? Are you looking for consideration? Are you trying to do something more close to the ground? ABM marketing, you mentioned earlier. One reason creators work for the B2B sector is there's just simply too many choices and too many things to consider and too little time to consider it. So when you're thinking about those right creators for your own business, you have to look for, first of all, what's the audience you're looking for? A lot of the platforms, including ours, you can work backwards from the audience. Do I want to have audiences that are in a specific geography, within a specific sector, within a specific age group? You can work backwards and then choose your influencers from there. We also have a performance score that says, okay, how does that creator perform in a similar situation? What's their engagement? How has the audience engaged in that content? Positive, negative, and neutral in terms of sentiment, which allows companies to select creators based upon a performance score. Ultimately, humans buy from humans, and you've got to find a creator that's going to match your personality, that has your audience that's similar to the audience you want to talk to, but also has content that they've been able to provide in the past that's going to allow them to be searchable for your sector. So you may have a creator, for example, that is squarely within your area of expertise and is consistently creating that content day in, day out, and has a history of content with a history of really positive comments that's going to be right for your sector. That type of creator is going to work very, very well for B2B companies.
I mean, that navigating what sort of the creator that you want is something that you have told me very clear words, and something that I have been very sorted with. I mean, I had this question from my end as well. But now let's talking about success. How do you think should B2B teams measure creative partnerships today? And are we finally moving past the vanity metrics?
Yeah, look, vanity metrics are a great starting point. You can't ignore them. Vanity metrics are really important when you want to take a look at, okay, what type of messaging might be better than another piece of messaging? What's your cost per click? things like that, which will get you sort of very superficial numbers, but at least at a macro level, it's going to give you directionally what you need to determine what creator might be more successful than another creator, because it does take time to work with creators to get them indoctrinated to your tone. You want to make sure they're creating content that's going to be right for you. So at the very least, there's going to be things that the vanity numbers will provide you directionally to determine if that creator is going to be right or wrong. But at the end of the day, these sales I mentioned before could take 30, 60, 90 days, depending upon the average contract value. So, we look at the little wins. How many meetings are you getting? What's your engagement on the positive, negative, neutral on those comments to the content? These are all indicators that you're on the right track. The other thing that we found really successful is work with the creators on the metrics that you both can own. So rather than pushing metrics to the creator, what are the things that they can help you with that you can develop, that those metrics can coexist beyond the vanity metrics? More and more platforms are sensitive to making sure that we're finding the creators that are going to be right, and the creators want to legitimately do a good job for the brand. So more and more they will co-create sort of a dashboard with you that's going to work for your product and work for your sales cycle.
Very insightful. Thank you so much for answering that. Finally, coming to the big question we all been wondering: is creator trend here to stay, or is just a marketing factor?
Nope. It's been here for quite some time. I think the fact that the platforms are getting better, the fact that the creators are getting better at creating consistent content, tagging their content properly, they're easier to find, and they're delivering the numbers. And as the creator economy grows, the B2B space will just go along with it. So it is absolutely here to stay. What's also making it even more important to companies is, look, we're an AI company. We're heavily invested in the expanse of AI. We believe it's the future. Generative AI, however, it's a bit of a false flag. Everybody, there's a lot of attention put on Gen AI, but at the end of the day, what does happen with Gen AI, especially as it returns searches, it does homogenize everything. So it is harder when B2B buyers are looking to AI to make these decisions. But from a Gen AI perspective, a lot of the information that comes back has been homogenized, because that's how the learning is basically created. It is harder. So the platforms are a great opportunity to find these creators. There is embedded AI in the platform, is particularly our own, where it'll help you find the right creator for the right brief. And ultimately, for the buyer, there is comfort knowing that you're getting advice from individuals not tied to the brand, but can provide an honest and human opinion to a particular product.
Amazing. Jason, I really had some question from mine, if you mind answering them.
Yeah.
And so this was related to the creators and the teams, right? So how important it is for the internal teams like sales and marketing to collaborate with the creators directly, rather than keeping them at the arm's length.
Right. Yeah, arm's length doesn't work. There is a trend that we've been tracking where, if we're talking, say, creative agencies, for example, where I would say even like 7-8 years ago, creators were brought in as part of briefs, but they were sort of on the outside. They were given a brief, come back with some ideas, and maybe we'll use you. Now the creators are many times in the writers' rooms with the creative individuals. They're potentially even crafting the brief. They're given their own brief sometimes. So there is nothing to gain for keeping creators at arm's length. In fact, it just adds time to the process, and you don't get the full benefit of that objective view that you're going to get from somebody who may cut across multiple industries, but just really, really good at understanding what their particular audience reacts to. The other thing we're seeing also is a lot of these creators are being brought in as agency personnel now, as staffed people, which is quite different than what we've seen in the past, which basically shows that the agencies are getting a little bit less precious about making sure that we'll just give the creator a brief, we'll give the creator a strategy, they'll come back with a piece of content that may live, may die, who cares? But no, instead, we're actually bringing the creator into the company and letting them teach staff on how to best affect an audience.
Thank you so much for answering that. But there's one last question, and
Yeah.
we'll wrap up. And it's one really fun one, to be really honest. If you had to, describe future of B2B marketing in just 3 words, what it would be and why?
If I had say that one more time as I think about the answer.
If you had to describe the future of B2B marketing in just 3 words, what would it be and why?
3 words. Okay, I would say complicated getting easier. Okay, and the reason is that again, there's 70,000 AI companies out there trying to get their message out there, a limited amount of platforms, a limited amount of tools, getting more and more easier to access. But yeah, it's very, very hard for the B2B marketer to get their message out there in a way that serves their customer base as well as their sales teams, for example. It is a complicated process. It's getting easier through tools, through AI, through technology, through creative ways to start solving different problems for bringing creators into the process and letting them provide their opinions on how to best reach their audiences, their communities, and using their opinions to also craft the briefs rather than pushing the briefs to them and saying, do it this way or do it that way. Bring them into the process. That way you'll get the most out of their talents.
Thank you so much, Jason. Thank you so much for joining us today. And thank you for giving us such insightful. I think these things would have been, a little bit complicated if you wouldn't answer, and it was really insightful. Thank you so much for joining us. And to our listeners, if you are listening, you found value over here, don't forget to follow, share, and subscribe. This was Tuesdays with Trailblazers. I'm your host, Swastika, and I'll catch you next week.